We are strong. We are invincible. We are Venom? Yeah, Venom's got his own movie. And it's finally here. Let's get started. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Hello homies, welcome to Thumb Together. My name is Andrew Fantasia, and today we are going to be talking about Venom together. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up and give some love to that subscribe button as well.
Otherwise, the symbiote will take over my soul.
And nobody wants that. So the Venom movie's finally here. You've heard me say a bunch of times how bland and weak and outdated I was ready for this movie to be. So it finally came out last night. I saw it, and here's the thing, guys. The Venom movie's kind of okay. This is not a film that I'm going to be writing home about. However, Venom succeeded in more ways than I thought it would. It is a very basic story about boy meets symbiote, boy loses symbiote, boy regains symbiote, symbiote eats faces, but it wasn't really trying to be anything more than that. It told the origin story of Venom. Rather, it told an origin story of Venom, seeing as how they had to change his origin because there's no Spider-Man involved in this origin. So they told an origin story competently enough to make me say, okay, I buy this. Let's see where this goes. They got Eddie and the symbiote together eventually. It took a long time to get that symbiote on Eddie. A very long time considering how short this movie is. They finally got the two of them together. Venom was born, and he was rocking his do and his black ooze and everything, and he looked fantastic, and he sounded fantastic. And then the climax happened, and he fought a bad guy, and that was it. That was the end of the movie. It was very, very straightforward. And I can see why some people might find that boring. We do live in a golden age of superhero movies right now where superhero movies are no longer straightforward. Comic book movies in general have taken such strides. Every one of them now is a Renaissance painting, whereas before they were just a coloring book. Venom's not a Renaissance painting, but it's better than a coloring book. And I think that most of all, we owe that to the performance of Tom Hardy. If Tom Hardy's performance didn't work, then this whole movie would be in the trash. But he works as both Eddie Brock. He's a sympathetic dude, and he's kind of like disheveled and weird, and he's down on his luck, which is what Eddie Brock was. So yeah, nailed. And then when he becomes Venom, and Venom comes forth, he nails that too. He's got Venom's swagger down to a T. He's got Venom's voice perfectly. Like, that is exactly what Venom sounds like. He nailed the voice 100%. That character, just in and of itself, was created beautifully. And we got to give props to Tom Hardy for pulling that off, because that's not an easy character, and it could come off very silly, or it could come off really overly dramatic, and he found the right balance in between there. Now, the supporting characters, the rest of the cast of this movie, not so great. I mean, Michelle Williams was good as always. She's a great actress. She doesn't really have a super meaty role here. Riz Ahmed, same thing. Riz Ahmed is fantastic, but he plays a villain here who is just kind of bland and completely forgettable. I dare you to watch this movie and then come talk to me after you've watched the movie and tell me what the name of Riz Ahmed's character was. I dare you. He is a very stock villain who doesn't pose much of a threat as far as I was concerned, and he's just kind of there to be a foil. And I think that the movie's greatest weakness was that the conflict had to be with this guy. If it were up to me, because this is the origin of Eddie Brock becoming Venom, the conflict of the whole film would have been more of a Wolfman thing, more of a Jekyll and Hyde thing, with Riz Ahmed's character being more like a secondary villain because he really didn't leave much of an impact anyway. The protagonist-antagonist struggle in this movie, as far as I'm concerned, should have been Eddie Brock versus Venom, not Eddie Brock and Venom versus some scientist guy whose name you're not going to remember. When the symbiote bonds with Eddie, it very quickly takes over, and they have a quick rapport, and they have those great little back and forth moments, which are very fun, where Eddie is like, oh my god, there's people shooting at us, what do we do? And Venom's like,
you frickin' coward, let me take care of this.
and they have this big fight and stuff, and their dynamic where whenever Eddie talks to Venom, or vice versa, that dynamic is fantastic. But they became friends very quickly. It was just a matter of, I have this symbiote on me, I don't know if I really want it on me, but I'll take it anyway, and I guess let's go and fight the bad guy now. It was very ba-boom, 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 very quick. And again, like I said, this is a short movie too, so it didn't really have that much room to breathe. So if it were up to me, my main change that I would put into the Venom movie is that make the conflict about Eddie versus Venom. The turning points in the film before the climax should have been Eddie and Venom learning to get along, learning to work as a cohesive unit to take on whatever the bad guy was doing. I mean, the alien is called a symbiote. The very definition of a symbiote is a life form that fuses with another life form for mutual advantage. The rejection of that symbiote should have been a much bigger deal. It should have been more of Dr. Jekyll wants to stop taking this potion and get Mr. Hyde out of his body, but Mr. Hyde keeps crawling back because now he's part of him. And then finally, as like a fist-pumping, glorious moment, they should have finally put aside all the differences that have been plaguing them for the movie, come together, achieve that symbiosis, fully embrace the fact that we are Venom now, and then gone after Riz Ahmed's character. And that does happen, but in a throwaway line. I mean, all that conflict and resolution and payoff happens in a throwaway line. And then he's like, okay, what do you say you and I just go fight the scientist now? And Venom's like,
I'm down, baby.
and then they go and they fight the scientist. It's fun. I have fun, but I mean, it could have been so much better. It could have been like a classic monster movie with one of the coolest Spider-Man villains of all time, who happens to be the monster. But I'm so pleased that Venom exceeded my expectations. Granted, I had very low expectations, so that's not saying much, but I'm very happy to say I was wrong about how I initially thought this movie was going to leave me feeling. And yes, they found a way to make Venom possible without Spider-Man. And what I really like about this is, as long as I get to see them fight at some point, that would make my dream come true. That'd be fantastic. But they found a way to make it work without having the origin tied into Spider-Man, while still leaving the door very wide open for him to meet Spider-Man in the future. Speaking of the future, scene in the middle of the credits, you'll probably see coming a mile away. I mean, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I will just say this. For a very, very long time now, we have all known that one of the cast members of this movie was Woody Harrelson. They have never said who Woody Harrelson is playing. They have just said, guys, Woody Harrelson is in our Venom movie. Stay tuned. And when the movie hit like the 1.5 hour mark, and I'm sitting there and I still haven't seen Woody Harrelson, I can put two and two together and be like, okay, I know exactly who he's playing and when we're going to see him. And it's exactly who you think it is and when you think it is. Now, that scene in particular I have some issues with, particularly the dialogue, particularly the last line of dialogue, which is a bit too on the nose for my liking. And if you've already seen it, you know what I'm talking about. But again, it does pave the way for some great ideas in the future. I am now not excited for Venom 2, but I am definitely looking forward to it. I think that's the best way to put it. So that is my review of Venom. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. This has been Thumb Together. I will see you here next time, and until then, never forget,
we are Venom.
God, this character is so awesome.